Hey guys, this is Adam from dodjit.com. What I want to do in this video briefing is go over a few Forex charts. I want to show you all some potential setups that we are looking at, and we're going to go over a few different trend lines, stuff like that. Also we're going to follow up on our gold position that we took last week. Now before I get started, what I would just want to do is just give a brief summary of what happened last week. We had 4 interest rate decisions. Now the first one, what happened was the Bank of Australia, they came out, they said they're going to hold at their current meeting. This was last week. They held at 3.25%. The funny thing is that when they did hold, the next day GDP results came out and showed not such a nice picture. The GDP results showed that the Australian economy had contracted in the previous quarter, and that really wasn't a positive thing for the Australian dollar. Now, in addition, the ECB, the Bank of England, they both reduced their interest rates, and the Bank of Canada also reduced its rate to 0.5%. Now, the problem is at the moment, most traders and investors are starting to speculate that even if the central banks, even if they do reduce their rates, let's say by another 0.25% or another 0.5%, is it really going to help the economy? That's the main question at the moment, and what I think most people are now fearing is that it's not going to help the economy. And we can also see central banks that they've started to use additional methods like quantitative easing. This was something that was stated in our weekly report. Alright, so let's go on to the charts. The first chart that I brought up is the euro against the US dollar. It's a daily chart. Now what I'm looking at is I'm still looking at our prior low, this area around here. We still haven't broken this level. We've got major support around this level. We nearly came down to it last week. We just came shy off this level, off the 1.2024 level, and we headed higher. Now we seem to have formed this type of range, this downtrend range that we're at the moment we're trading in. We bounced off the upper trend line this morning, heading back down. Now if we look very carefully, this is kind of like also the pound against the dollar. At the moment we're trading within these 2 trend lines that are working absolutely perfectly for us. All we're doing at the moment is we're bouncing off of resistance, support, just opening positions. We're taking small trades, we're taking day trades. We're talking about roughly around 20 to 30 pips at a time. Each time we come close to either support or either to resistance, we're just taking the trade, we're putting a stop loss above the trend line, and we're just heading into the position. So this is something that we're looking at the moment. Now, one thing we must take into consideration is that we haven't broken our prior lows. So I want to see how this is going to play out. Obviously, if we're going to break to the upside of this trend line, so then we're thinking of taking a nice swing, and then our targets will probably be the 1.308 level. This is our first target level. If we break down, so then obviously we're going to plummet lower, because a lot of stop losses, I'm talking about long-term stop losses, are at the moment they're situated below this level. Next chart, I just want to flip over to the pound against the dollar. Let's just zoom in on this chart. Now the pound really crashed today, but if you look carefully again, we're still on this trend line. So we are heading lower at the moment. I wouldn't read into this too much. I would wait to see how the session is going to progress. And how we're going to do that, we're going to just have to follow a 5-minute chart to see how the session is going to progress, because we might see towards the end of the session it head back higher. If it's going to head back higher, again, we're just bouncing off of trend lines, using simple strategies to work in this market. These are the 2 trend lines that we're working on at the moment. I want to see, what I'm doing is I'm using now a 5-minute chart. I want to see how the session is going to progress, especially with the US markets opening today. Obviously, if we close the session lower, so then we've got our target level. Our target level is 1.3505. This is our level. Next chart I just want to flip over to is the US dollar against the Canadian dollar. By the way, the charts that I am using are Netdanya charts. You can find them at netdanya.com. Let's just zoom in on this chart. Now we can see that we formed we had this type of triangle pattern going on here, and what happened is we broke out last week. We formed, if you look carefully, we formed this type of pennant pattern. You can see we've got the pennant and we've got the stick right around here. I am expecting this to go higher. The only problem is we've got this strong resistance level roughly around the 1.3 level, which is also going to act as a psychological level. So even though we are looking for a stronger dollar long term, this could form some resistance. We could see some further consolidation around this level, which yet again works for us perfectly. If we're working on intraday, on the intraday session, we can just bounce off a trend line, bounce off of resistance level, taking small positions at a time. The last chart that I want to show you all is the gold chart. Now gold, this position actually worked perfectly, but the problem is it doesn't seem to be following through. What happened was we signaled this on many of our reports last week. We mentioned this trend line roughly around here and this upper trend line right around here, and we said that if we do break this trend line, this channel going down, so then we're heading in. Now we did take this position, we've got our stop loss below our prior low. Now it doesn't seem to be following through, which is starting to get me a little bit skeptical about this trade. What I am doing, I'm starting to move my stop loss closer to my entry point. I want to see, because obviously, especially on gold, number one, we only take small positions on gold, and number two, also we're going to try to minimize our risk in this trade because it doesn't seem to be following through. I would like to see a follow through candle. It's going to reach roughly around the 9.5 level. We're just going to have to take it by ear and see how this plays out. What I do advise, if you at the moment, if you do have a position on this, keep a close eye out on it. I'm not saying close the position, I'm just saying keep a close eye out on it so things don't turn around. I hope you enjoyed the video posting. This is Adam from dodjit.com.